The Making of My David is a photographic journal augmented by voice of the physical and emotional journey I experienced while carving a stone sculpture. Even though I have worked in the stone industry all of my life, I did not start carving stone until I was 50 years old. This is not unusual in stone carving for many reasons, most of them economic. Looking at a slice of my work, you can see that I do both realistic and abstract work, and all the variations of each. I live in Portland, Oregon, the region of the country that has a rich native art tradition, but almost no awareness of stone sculpture, due to the fact that there is no tradition of stone carving where there is no suitable stone to carve. Portland sits on a basalt plateau. Consequently, sourcing carving material has always been a huge obstacle for prospective artists to climb. Few have. So Portland, without a stone tradition, has little interest in stone carving. So for me, as a lifetime stoneworker with an education in physical geography and urban studies, it is a joyful and fulfilling process to source my own carving stone. I found the stone to carve my David in a remote part of the United States few people have ever seen or visited. Mount Calder, Alaska, native land at the north end of Prince of Wales Island. This part of America is only accessible by water. In my opinion, Calder is the most unique and beautiful stone in the world. At the turn of the century, the rugged men who explored and quarried this stone used steam drills without the aid of infrastructure we call electricity and plumbing or roads in their quest for this truly beautiful marble. I felt lucky to acquire 3 small blocks 20 years ago in collaboration with a fellow native stone enthusiast. And I had them barged to Seattle, then trucked to my stone yard in Portland. I knew this would be a rare and special opportunity to carve this stone, and approached it with great trepidation, as one might guess. So to begin, I started hand-pitching the edges, inspecting for seams, and letting water dry on the surface, looking for future trouble. I inspected for variations in color and modeling spots. I still had no specific idea in mind, but knew that I must find any seams that might give me trouble in the future. It appeared quite flawed and pointed on top, and looked narrow on the back right side to do much with. I could see a seam on this side as well. That bothered me. So I cut the top, losing as little stone as possible, to remove stone in order to check out this seam. I thought I would try David, even though I wondered if I had enough stone on the right-hand side. I then made 3 sketches, front, left, and right, to help me envision the general shape and proportions. I conceived of throwing the right leg out, stepping into combat, and allowing development of leg muscles, and the right arm cocked with a sling, since I knew I had enough mass there. The natural sway of the back would work to my benefit. Notice the center line, front and back. It's so easy to lose your proportions in figurative art. That's what makes it so hard to do. Even though a new material was lacking, I wanted as much body as the stone would give, at a decent scale that pleased me. By tilting the head up, all proportions coming from the head allowed the maximum body size, and of course, David should be looking up at the giant. I don't know about other artists, but I use proportions that use head size to determine all critical locations on the human form. This is a proven system that works. The widest point at David's strong shoulders was determined to be 13 inches. His face was to be young, strong man, almost still a boy. Note the direct sketch on the side showing the back shape. I wanted a twisted or curling shape, suggesting body torque, ready to unravel. Right shoulder lowers, body cocked for action. There was not much stock on the right-hand side and a menacing seam staring at me. I knew this was not going to be easy. Not many sculptors are wealthy enough to have lots of stone. I have been told that even Michelangelo's David form was altered by a lack of material. Stone sculpture is not like modeling with clay, where you just add more or less whatever you need. The stone sculptor is in a constant dialogue with his material, often fearful of failure, unless he is a fool. By tilting the head, I could get a 6 1/2 inch head, and with cleaning up front and back of the stone, I was able to lay out a theoretical chin location, giving me a breastplate at 6 1/2 inches and a waist at 13 inches. This would leave a good amount of stone for leg development. I wanted more, but this would have to do in order for me to get the scale that pleased me. Many carvers would say that doing the head or the hands is the most difficult part of a sculpture. I don't know about this, but I lack in confidence in my ability to carve a head, which made me want to do it first. If I failed at this, all else would be a wasted effort. I think I did okay on creating a youthful head, but I kept the hair long and back for strength to be removed later. Being satisfied with the head, I undercut the neck and defined the shoulders. Note the lack of stone on the left-hand side. This dilemma made me put the left hand back, allowing the right hand and leg to move forward, providing body torque I wanted the David to have. It all worked out for the best, as often happens with problems. I decided to work on the left arm first. Since the seam was there, I could see how to deal with it. Getting a good-sized arm here may be a challenge. I knew there was plenty of stock on the opposite side, and I would have many choices on arm and hand shape. I located the left arm back, which allowed me to cut the back end deep enough to get sufficient stone for generous buttocks. Now, for the first time, I could see that the sculpture was going to work if I continued to keep proper proportions. The right-hand side could push forward, leaving room for the bent right arm holding a sling, ready for action. I then proceeded to find the arms, chest, and waist, all by measurement. Further defining the back, arms, and legs was just a matter of time. This photo shows the left-hand arm, hand, and waist location. The lower photo shows the right-hand arm located slightly forward, along with the potential leg. Things are moving along quite smartly now. It's beginning to look like art. With further effort, you can see in these two photos that the basic form is completed. It is much too heavy for me to handle, so I used our shop forklift on Saturday to lift with ropes and put in a horizontal position on my workbench to carve details, hand, chest, and stomach. This is a somewhat scary thing to handle, so I always do this sort of work with no one else around to get hurt trying to help me. Didn't think David would go into combat nude, so I decided to put a loincloth attached with a line tie. This could all be textured to add interest. I wanted big hands, somewhat larger than his penis, which is only suggested under the loin cover. I once had an art customer tell me a fireplace design I proposed to him seemed to be contrived. Yes, art isn't fluff falling from the sky. It's all very contrived to me. I could now cut his front legs from a frontal position, pushing his right-hand leg forward as planned. Carefully tipped him up on the side, not really knowing its balance points yet. I then started cutting the right-hand arm and sling resting on his right-hand leg. For the first time, I could stand my David up on my workbench by leaving sufficient stone mass on the bottom. This allowed me to work all around the stone at a comfortable height and align critical measurements up by measurement from the work table. Both front and back could now be aligned for the first time with ease. These two photographs show refining details, opening up the arm cavities, and doing all those little details that make a piece of art special. I put the sculpture back down to further detail the back muscles and form strong legs, and to drill a hole for pinning. Now, by looking at this photo, you can see that the finished David sculpture shows a lot of body torque. I am glad I pinned him, for he falls backward quite easily. I set him on a block of limestone I had, not a perfect perch, but about the right height, I think. I have entered my David in several public art or on-the-street proposals, but it has never been accepted. I don't think figurative art is much appreciated in this country. It has been sitting in my stone yard or remnant yard now for 2 years. It has probably been seen by 500 or more people of all types. There have been very few comments since I placed it there. I think this says something. I don't know what. However, each sculpture I have carved in the last 20 years has been a unique interaction between my emotions, the stone, and the tools I am using. This challenge, this inner tension, gives a sculpture value and meaning to me, and sometimes to others who are willing to engage with my art. For it only needs to evoke emotion to be meaningful. For me, I enjoy the challenge, for I know very few people could do this. I think it would be a good idea to show some of the tools that are used to carve stone. This is a photograph of the basic tools I use to carve stone. On the left-hand side, you'll see a Troy and Holden hammer plus 2 chisels, and in between them there's another chisel which is a bushing hammer, which is used for somewhat finished carving. Then there's the standard stonecutter's hammer. I have 3 sizes. This is the mid-size, probably about 3 pounds, and the hand chisel. Next to it is a standard tool, it's a diamond saw on a side cutter, which is used for fret cutting to remove material fast. And finally, there is the sanding machine, which runs at various speeds. Now, of course, there's a lot more tools used, but this is somewhat of an overview of the basic tools that are used to carve stone. On the right-hand side, you can see where I fret cut a piece to block in a stone. This is the same procedure I used for carving my David.